Hey there my lovelies, and welcome to my booktube channel, The Sassy Library Fox. My name is V, and today we're going for my June wrap up. But before we do this, I gotta say I'm sorry for my appearance. I probably look all wet in the face, which is due to the 29 degrees Celsius we have in my flat right now. We've had a heat wave for the last couple of, well, by now it's weeks. And the little rain we had was like 10 minutes of hard rain and that's it. So it got very hot in here and I don't get the heat out anymore. And I'm tired, I'm so tired. Which is the reason I got my coffee at the ready. I got my sheets to talk about the books I read in June, and yeah, if my brain kind of doesn't work in between, I'm already sorry, but the heat is unbearable right now. So you gotta bear with my appearance and with the heat in this flat. Anyway, I'm gonna take a sip here. And then I will talk about my June wrap up. And June was amazing. I actually managed to read 5 books in June. My prediction came true. I managed to read 1 more book in the month of June and I'm so happy about that. Also, I actually kind of read 6 books, and now, hold your horses. One of them was a DNF. Yes, this is me, queen of I'm never going to DNF a book, telling you that I actually did DNF one. Not proud of this, but I just couldn't. I just couldn't with this book. Anyway, we will get to this. I read 5 books in total, 1 DNF, 5 normal books. And it's been a great reading month. I rated most of the books very highly. And yeah, I think we will just go with the DNF first so that we have it out of the way. So, this one was a book that's been on my 2019 to be read for ages. I always said I wanted to get to that one, I wanted to read it, I wanted to finish my 2019 to be read. And that's the reason why I picked it up at the end of May. And I thought I would be able to read it. Then I made a pause. Then I set it down again. And yeah, I probably should tell you which book I'm talking about. I'm talking about Beyond Redemption by Michael R. Fletcher. And this one was highly recommended to me by a lot of people. But yeah, as I already said, I started to read it in May. I couldn't read it. I got the ick reading it. And then I decided I would try to continue to read it and thought maybe it would get better. But unfortunately, when I picked it up in June again, it didn't get better. So yeah, I had to DNF it. The reason why I did DNF the book is that I discovered a new pet peeve I wasn't even aware of. I had to get as old as I am now and read about 2000 books to find out a new pet peeve. And the thing is, the book is some sort of dystopian, futuristic kind of book with horror elements, but it's about 3 people that are living in this dystopian world, and there are people that have doppels, and there are some people that are the Geisteskranken, and they, how to say it, they are kind of crazy, but also have some sort of abilities. I didn't dive deep enough into the book to tell you what it is about. I'm gonna be honest here. But the problem I had with the book, and which was my pet peeve, is the fact that the author is a Canadian author, and apparently he liked to use German words. And that's okay. I could have lived with 1 or 2 German words in between the entire book. They are thrown there. But what I couldn't live with was the writing style, because I mean, it's okay, it's fair. Apparently the author wanted to make something unique with giving all the people German names. But as a German native speaker, to read this was so horrible, because we had characters that are named, I don't know, I wrote it down here. The author has a character named König für immer, and if you are a German speaker, native speaker at that, you know that it would have been König für immer. And yeah, then there were characters named like the Geisteskranken and Dämonen, and in German you say Dämonen. And there were actually people named Wichtig and Bedeckt or something like that. And it was like Mr. Wichtig did this and that, and Wichtig in German means important. So it was like reading a children's book when you say Mr. Important did this and that. And then the wrong grammar as well, and the wrong spelling of the German words. Yeah, I didn't know this was a pet peeve of mine, but it was really so hard for me to read. And whenever I read the book and continued to read, and there was a city named Selbsthass, which is translated as self-hatred. And I don't know, a city named self-hatred, a character named Mr. Important, and no, I totally couldn't get into this. I don't know if this is just me as a German-speaking person. Probably for people that speak other languages and that are native speakers of other languages, this might not be as jarring as it was for me. I would really love to know if some of you are German speakers as well, and if you read the book and if you could digest it, because I had so much trouble to get into the book because of that, because of the use of the German words, and then even the wrong spelling. I just couldn't, I couldn't do it. So I would really love to hear if some of you made different experiences. And if you're a native speaker, a German speaker at that, if you were able to read that book, because for me it was such a hard pass, I couldn't, for the life of me. I never knew I had this pet peeve. I'm pretty certain the book is great and amazing, but I just can't read it. It's definitely a me thing. I'm sorry, Mr. Fletcher, but it's definitely a me thing. Anyway, before I continue to babble about my DNF, I'm gonna take a sip. And I'm gonna talk about the 5 books I actually read in June. And the first one was Ravensong by T.J. Klune. And yes, I finally finished it. I finally got this book of my currently reading. The procrastination with this one was strong. I started to read it in October 2023. And then I stopped reading it in November 2023 because I was at the halfway mark and I was so scared what would happen next. So I knew once I would pick it up, I would continue to read the hell out of it and would forget to sleep and to eat. So I pushed it aside and aside and aside because I knew I would get obsessed with the book once I would pick it up again. And I did. I finally picked it up in May 2025, at the ending of May, and then continued to read it in June and finished the last 50% of the book. I really enjoyed that one. I don't know how I was able not to continue to read it for 2 years, quite honestly. Gordo's and Mark's story was really an interesting one. I loved that both characters are about my age. So that was great. I don't know, the older I get, the more I appreciate love stories that are with characters that are about my age, because it kind of gives me hope that there can be written stories about people my age as well. And Gordo and Mark definitely were around my age. And their love story was hard fought for. They had a lot of problems and misunderstandings and troubles, but at the end they got their Heir, which I love for them. The only reason I gave this 4.5 pause is the fact that I had the feeling that I barely knew anything about Mark by the ending of the book. We got Gordo's point of view, we saw everything from Gordo's perspective, but I still couldn't grasp Mark as a character. And I would have loved to know more about him and not to have him that silent, broody guy all of the time. I mean, not even Gordo understands him sometimes. So that says a lot. And yeah, but Gordo as a main character was amazing. I loved this witch to pieces. I really enjoyed that book. There was a lot of trouble once again. It was nice to see all the cameos. Ox and Joey were a part of the book as well, which was great for me. I loved it. I love to hear more about them and to read more about them and how they are in their relationship. But now they have problems with other pets and with a mysterious virus that turns alphas and betas into omegas. So yeah, that was quite the damper, and oof, they have a lot of trouble coming their way. I already know it. But I'm so looking forward to the next book. I can't wait to pick it up. I love that one, 4.5 pause. Okay, the second book I read in June was You and Me by Tal Bauer. It was my first Tal Bauer book ever. I know if you read in the MM genre, everyone, literally everyone is talking about Tal Bauer. But I never picked up a book by Tal until now. And I'm so glad I did. This book was amazing. We basically have two single dads. We have Landon and we have Luke. And the book is from Luke's perspective. And Luke is a single father after his wife died about a year ago. And he is trying to take care of his son Emmett, who is a teen, a troubled teen at that because his mom died when he was still so young. And they kind of lost their connection, and Luke is really trying so hard to rebuild their relationship and the trust they had when Emmett was younger. But everything he does seems to be the wrong thing. Until one day, the football volunteers invite Emmett's mom to the practice and to help and volunteer before the games. And Luke is kind of angry about that letter because he found it in the bin, which means Emmett saw it first. And he kind of drives there and wants to clear the air and wants to tell them that they shouldn't send a message to his dead wife. But then he meets Landon there, a single father as well. He got a divorce and he has a son named Bowen, and Bowen and Landon have the best father-son relationship ever, and Luke wants that, and because of that he volunteers, and while he volunteers he gets closer to Landon, and it's kind of some sort of bisexual awakening, I think. The characters never explicitly say, well, except of Landon. Landon is obviously gay. He came out as gay, which caused the divorce. but I think with Luke we never really pinpoint his sexuality, which is okay by me, because it just works. He falls for Landon and that's it for him, which I love, by the way. Also, those two were fathers already of teens, so they were around my age as well, which I once again loved. I think I'm finally reaching the stage where I still continue to read young adult, but really appreciate books that have characters that are around my age and when the story plays around them. So that's great. So yeah, I love that one. Tal Bauer tackled a lot of different themes and topics in here. It was serious, but it was also so sweet and wholesome. The way Luke and Landon fit together and how they built a family with their sons. It was amazing. I absolutely loved it. And the drama, we don't have a third act break up, but there is some drama, but it is with the family and with their sons and the relationships. So that's great. I loved it. I never thought I would love this book so much, but I did. I gave it raging 5 paws, and yeah, it deserved every single one of them. Okay, another sip. Another book. I read A Tempest of Tea by Hafsah Faizal. I hope I pronounced it right now. I gave it 4 paws, and it was an interesting story. The most interesting thing was that when you read the blurb, you expect some sort of haste, but that never really happened in the book. I enjoyed it for a lot of other reasons, because that haste wasn't really a part of the book, or an all too big part of the book. We spend a lot of time with Artie and Chin, and we also get a third point of view with Flick, whose name is actually Felicity, and she's a highborn lady. Chin, Casimir, and Artie Casimir are siblings, but they are siblings because they wanted to be. They met each other when they were children, and because they were both orphans, they stuck around each other and built a family of their own. And they built their tea room named Spindrift that turns into a vampire bar at night. An illegal one at that, because the ram, I think the ram is some sort of the king of the kingdom, doesn't like vampires and tries to suppress them at every turn. But then the ram is threatening their secret vampire hideout slash tea room, and Afi and Jin are forced to act, and they recruit Flick and Matteo, a vampire, and also one of the guard that works, or supposedly works for the ram, but has some business with him. It's a beef, and decides to help them. So that was interesting. The plot was also pretty interesting with the vampires and with all the politics that were going on. I loved Arfi as a character. She was great, and Chin was amazing. The Casimirs are definitely great. And I also liked all the ships that evolved during the book. I was wary of one of them, but yeah, I'm not gonna spoil anything. This one got 4 paws from me, and I'm very curious about the second book and how it will continue, because the ending kind of threw me. Okay. Honestly, the next time I should sit here and wave with something, because it's too hot here. Okay, the 4th book I read in June was The Last Heir to Blackwood Library by Hester Fox. And this one got 3 paws from me. There are a lot of reasons why it did. The interesting thing is I really was so down for this book. I was so ready to read it and to like it because the premise sounded interesting. It was about Evie Radcliffe, who inherits a monastery from a very, very distant relative she didn't even know about. And in this big, huge house, there is a library, the Blackwood Library. And that library is famous because there are a lot of books that are unique and one of a kind, and a lot of people have interest into this library, but it's kind of disheveled over the years. And Ivy loves books, so she decides to rearrange it once again and to tidy it up and to make it available for the people in the village. Yeah, but her servants always warn her about the library, that she shouldn't spend too much time there, that something bad happened to all the former owners of the estate. They lost their memories and they died way before their age, or they reached a certain age. They all died very young, let's put it that way. And yeah, Ivy doesn't take those things seriously until a lot of strange things are happening. Yeah, and that really sounded so promising and intriguing, and the first couple of chapters were interesting for me. I really enjoyed them, but then, I don't know, the book kind of lost me. It was so weird because on the one hand, Ivy was a very modern woman that wanted to be on her own and do her own thing, but the more we got into the book, the more she became a damsel in distress that didn't know how to act. I mean, part of that is probably due to the unreliable narration of Ivy. But yeah, I don't know, it was kind of weird, the descent of her character from a modern woman into a woman that needed a man at her side. And at first it was a little bit spooky and I thought, oh, I'm so here for it. But then at the ending it turned into more some sort of romance. And in between I didn't know. It was, I don't know, the things were handled so anticlimactic. I can't say it any differently without spoiling anything, but the ending totally ruined it for me. And the fact that there didn't happen a lot, there was a lot of potential, but it wasn't used. So yeah, it got 3 paws for me. It was a wild card because I got it from a library. Yeah, turned out the book wasn't really for me. It happens sometimes, but overall it was okay to read, but it's not exactly something I would recommend people to read, if that makes any sense. Anyway, last book I read in June, the 5th book, and it was Good Girl, Bad Blood by Holly Jackson, which is the 2nd book in the A Good Girl's Guide for Murder series. Boy, this is a tongue twister. Anyway, I really like that one. It's once again about Pip, and after her podcast about the 1st book and Andy Bell and Cell Sing got viral, she decided that her investigation days are over because there was a lot happening at the ending of the 1st book, and well, let's say Pip has some sort of trauma and the family as well, so she swore to never investigate again. But then the brother of one of her friends goes missing, Jamie goes missing, and Connor asks her for help, and his mom as well. So Pip tries to go to the police and to tell them to investigate the case, but they put it on a really low priority because apparently Jamie ran away quite often before that, and he doesn't get priority because he usually turns up a couple of days later. But this time around, his mom and his brother say that he acted really weird before he disappeared, and they don't believe that he just ran away. So Pip starts to investigate, and as always, she uncovers a lot of bitter truths about her hometown, with the help of Ravi and with the help of Connor, of course. I really enjoyed that one. I gave it 4.5 paws. I liked that I could guess at least part of the plot. 1/2 paw, it got less from me because I really would have liked to guess the entire plot, and quite honestly, the other part of the plot you never would have been able to guess. It came out of nowhere, and yeah, not in my wildest dreams I would have been able to guess the other part of that plot. So yeah, that's the reason why it got 1/2 paw less from me, because I couldn't for the life of me relate to that kind of weird twist. Yeah. Anyway, it's a me thing, but overall I enjoyed it a lot. It got 4.5 paws. Of course, Pip is more traumatized now than she was after the first book. There is going to be a 3rd book as well, so I'm pretty certain there will come even more trauma her way. Yeah. It was a good book. It was a nice one. I enjoyed it. I read it in a couple of days. I had a good time with it, and I think that says it all. I can't wait to pick up the 3rd book in the series, the last one, and find out how it's all going to end. Yeah. And I think the ending this time around was a little bit unrealistic, but it's just a me thing. Yeah. Just a me thing. Okay, anyway, those were the 5 books, 6 if you count the DNF, I read in June. I'm so proud of myself for actually managing to read 5 books last month. Amazing. I didn't manage to do that in months. I think the last time I read 5 books was last year, in 2024. So it's been a long time. I actually managed to read 5 books. I'm kind of in trouble right now because I have next to no time to write reviews about the books I read. So my backlog is really huge, and I hope I will manage to write a couple of reviews soon, because it's killing me. I read so many good books and I don't have the time to write reviews about them. I mean, the fact I'm sitting here recording this video after an entire month says enough. I don't even have time to record videos anymore. But it is summer. I will have summer holidays in August, and I hope to do some catching up then when I get the time. So let's stay optimistic. I can do it. I know I can. Or as BTS would say, fighting. So yeah, those were the 5 books. I would really love to hear if you've read any of those books, what you thought about them, if you enjoyed them or not. I would also like to hear which kind of books you read in June, if there were a couple of queer books on your list as well, because after all it was Pride Month. And yeah, I read a couple of queer books, but completely different books than I thought I would read, which is fun. But yeah, if you follow this channel, you know that I usually only get to reviewing the books in my wrap-ups about 1 or 2 months later, never exactly in the month I start to read them. Yeah, it's a me thing, definitely. Anyway, I would love to hear your thoughts. I would love to get a like, a comment, or if you would subscribe to my channel if you're new here. And well, I guess there's nothing left to say except of take care, stay healthy and safe, and see you around the next time. Bye!